Well, we've done quite a lot to this shot by improving colour, tone, desaturating yellow teeth and getting rid of spots and pimples, so we're finally ready to sharpen the shot. We'll leave sharpening to the end because if we sharpen at the start, then all of the other edits we do could enhance existing problems like grain or noise that's produced by sharpening. So it's worth just finishing off with a bit of a sharpen. And before we do that, we need to flatten all these layers together to sharpen a single layer. So to do that, go to More, and you can then flatten it from the bottom here by going Flatten Image, or alternatively go up to the Layer Related menu at the top and choose Flatten Image this way, and that combines everything including the adjustment layer and basically changes the shot to incorporate all the changes you made in the adjustment layer, and also the powder puff layer on the top there has now been flattened as well, but it's still doing the same job it did before. There's lots of different ways to sharpen a shot, but to see the sharpening in action properly, it's worth going to Z for the zoom tool and then zooming in until we're at 100%, which you can see down here at the bottom. Hold the spacebar down and then find an area with some subtle detail like the iris here. You could also, of course, hit 1 to 1, and that will show you the actual size of the pixels as well. Now you could then try to go to Enhance and just choose Auto Sharpen, but that's not really worth doing. It has added a bit of grain here. If you've got a very fast film speed, a high ISO, and there's grain in the shot, then Auto Sharpen will bring that grain out even more. So for a quick fix, it's probably not really even worth a go because you want to really control the amount of sharpening manually. So Control Z to undo that, and I'll show you a couple of ways of sharpening up and revealing more detail. First one we'll go to is the older one, which is actually Enhance Unsharp Mask. That's an old photography term, unsharp mask. It's basically a way of creating a mask in the darkroom to sharpen up details, and you get a very titchy little interface here. Let's just move this over the eye. You can find the area you want to sample by moving the square there, like so. And you can see that if I click and hold down, there's the before, let go, and there's the after. That's quite subtle, so let's improve that by pushing amount up to about 86. Then click, there's the before, let go, there's the after. It's definitely made a difference. And we can take radius up as well to around about 1.4. Don't go any further, otherwise you start to create dark outlines around the edge of objects. Basically sharpening works by increasing contrast around the edge of different objects. And if you go too far, let me just show you what I mean, then you get these very horrible halos, blown out highlights, and just generally the shot looks very, very unreal and horrible. So as a rule, keep radius to under 2 just to stop the spread too much. And threshold just turns down the volume of the whole combination of amount and radius, so that's a good way of fine-tuning things if you need to. So there's the before. You can see there's not much detail in the iris there. There's the after, and you can see much more texture. So that's doing a fairly good job, and we could go with that if we fancy. But let me show you the other option as well by clicking Cancel, and we'll go to Enhance, and the new Adjust Sharpness command. Let's pop that in the middle there, and you've got a much bigger interface to start with, so it makes it easier to see what you're doing. Now the amount and the radius sliders do very similar jobs to the ones that we had in Unsharp Mask, so let's just take that down a little bit to about 95. Click to see the before. It's quite blurry, isn't it? It's quite surprising how blurry the original shot was compared to the unclick sharpened version, especially with texture in the eye like this. Radius of about 1.5. We'll spread the tone adjustment out a little bit more. Just bring out more detail in these finer eyelashes without adding halos to them like black outlines. Now you could have a little look in the shadow. There's the before, there's the after. We can see a little bit more grain maybe there, so we could try changing this to lens blur just to try and soften that out a little bit. It's very subtle, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it is sometimes worth doing if you've got very fast film speed shots. Now, if you do have high ISO settings like 1600 for example, then you might think click more refined is a good idea, but that will actually make each little individual grain stand out even more. So I tend not to bother with more refined, tend to leave it as it is. But there's a definitely improved shot. It's much sharper than it was before, and it just gives more impact, especially when you're printing it out on a printer. So let's click OK, and here's our final shot with the colors, the tones, the blemishes, and the sharpening all applied to create a much more attractive portrait than we had to start with.